Hey there, I'm Gabriel from contemporaryvoicelessons.com. If you're interested in contemporary voice lesson videos, please subscribe to my channel and like and comment if you feel inclined. Okay, so I want to talk in this video about the differences between contemporary voice lessons and classical voice lessons. So let me tell you a little bit of my story. I grew up in the Dominican Republic, and I used to listen to a lot of the contemporary Latin singers of the time, and I fell in love with singing by singing their songs. Then when I was graduated high school and I came to the United States, and I wanted to be a famous singer like those singers I was listening to on the radio. And I went to college for singing because I was driving one day and I heard an ad that came on the radio talking about how there was a school that I could go to school for music and it would help me with all these things. I had no idea voice lessons existed. I thought it was all about natural talent, and I thought I was a decent enough singer and I was just going to be discovered because I was, I don't know, amazing in my head when I was 18 or 17. And so I went to college and I auditioned with a song from the Beatles, the song Yesterday. And I did a rendition that was similar to one that my hero of the time had sang in. And my hero of the time had a raspy voice. So when I auditioned, instead of sounding very pure and beautiful, why she had to go, I did not sound like that. I sounded more, why she had to. I had a raspy kind of quality to my voice. And the teacher that auditioned me was a classical singing teacher, and her posture was very proper, and she was wearing proper attire. She was playing piano very beautifully, and her expectations were of me being this, pure singer. So she ended up not accepting me into college that day because I think she was turned off by the fact that I sounded so raspy, and I was really heartbroken. So on my way out the door, I saw that there was another way to get into the school, which was auditioning for the acting and theater program. So I looked at that and I went home, and overnight I learned 2 monologues, went to college, and then I got in, and the rest is history. So I did get into college. But anyway, I had no idea that the reason why this woman was turned off by my singing that had been praised so much by so many people that had heard me before was because she had a bias. She was trained classically, and she had classical aesthetics, and that means that the origin of the singing that she loved came from Europe. It came from all these just classically trained singers. There's a lineage of them, and there's a very specific kind of way to sing, right? So one way to say it, and so you can see visually, is that classical singing is more dressed like I am now and looks more like I am because it comes from this European standard. But contemporary singing would look more like this. I wouldn't be so covered up because I studied in an island, and the music that I love was influenced by Africa where it's hot, so I wouldn't be wearing this long sleeve shirt all buttoned up, right? And my hair probably would not be this neat. It would probably look more like this. It would be a little more curly. I have some product in it now. So the reason why now you're having a completely different experience of me is because I look completely different. The aesthetic is influenced by a completely different continent, and I'm surprised it's not as curly as it usually is, but I guess I put too much product in it. All that stuff is for us to make ourselves fit into kind of like a mold, and classical singing is kind of a mold. Now, the more, instead of Eurocentric singing, there's a singing that's more from Africa. So this kind of singing has a completely different sound. So as you could see, in Europe, the people that could afford singing lessons were very cultured and proper, and they sang opera, and there were all these methodologies and techniques and just so many years of studying and refining and perfecting the instrument to be able to cater, to those people that could go to the opera and, with a program and their little, it's a very specific kind of audience. Whereas the music I was listening to in Dominican Republic, the contemporary music there was very rhythmic, and it didn't require so much training, and it was a lot more lively, and there were a lot more colors and tones in the voice. So this was more contemporary singing. So in opera, people don't use a mic, so that's why there's so much emphasis on things like posture and breathing and placing the tone and shaping the sound and singing, engaging the diaphragm in a certain way, and just creating these different spaces in the throat and all of that stuff. And when I got into college and I started studying with my classical singing teacher, I was really kind of turned off. It was good for me because I grew from it. And I learned to appreciate a lot of classical singing and classical singers and classical music in general. But it kind of dampened and it almost killed my mojo for my contemporary pop singing stuff. And so I wasn't allowed to sing with rasp anymore. And I wasn't allowed to sing with a straight tone anymore. I remember my teacher being like, add more vibrato, make it sound more pure, modify the vowel, make it sound like this. So that's why today one of my most important things that I like to specify, and that's why my website is contemporaryvoicelessons.com, is because I want to make sure that I'm not doing that to the students that come to me wanting to sound like a rock singer or R&B singer or a gospel singer or just any singer that these days would use a microphone, so that they're not creating this technique to sing in this very sophisticated, refined, operatic, Eurocentric way. So yes, that's a huge difference. So I remember if I'm gonna vocalize with classical music, which could sound impressive, of course I'd have to fix my posture, have to expand my rib cage, keep it open. Now I have to have that even vibrato and that open tone and all of that. Whereas if I'm going to do a contemporary voice lesson, I would discourage all of that stuff. And because I'm not trying to teach an opera singer, I'm trying to teach somebody that just wants to connect with people in a more colloquial and just immediate kind of way. I don't want to alienate them with this sound. A lot of people don't like opera. I would just say, don't worry so much about posture and breathing and expanding the rib cage and singing, engaging the diaphragm and placing the tone and raising the soft palate. I am not a fan of that stuff. My exercise, the equivalent of that would sound more like see how much more kind of approachable and natural it sounds. Plus I have a microphone when I'm a pop singer. I don't have to make sure that I amplify the sound so that people all the way in the back hear me. And I'm not singing with an orchestra. I'm singing with a band and electric instruments and stuff like that. So it's just a completely different genre and a completely different field of study. So if you like classical singing and you want to be a classical singer and an opera singer, I would say sure, go for all of those teachings and find those teachers that teach that stuff. But if what you like is, the stuff I like, which is more to sing, because I like classical singing too, but if what you love is contemporary music, then do that. what happened to me as a result of going to college and being trained so classically was that I went from wanting to be a, pop star or pop rock star, to being a musical theater actor. And that's what's in between the two. So we got, the contemporary pop rock, just grassroots type of singing here, just garden variety, like radio singing here. Then we got musical theater in between, and then we got classical singing here. So I went from here to here, and now my aspiration is to sing, Broadway music really well, because Broadway has evolved, and then there's also some repertoire that sounds more like classical singing. And on Broadway, we use mics to sing. So people use mics to sing on Broadway. They're not singing without a mic. So, and, I love working with rock singers, pop singers, indie singers, R&B singers, gospel singers, soul singers. That's the kind of stuff that I love to do, even though I do some more, but as you've seen probably with these new musical movies coming out, and people are more exposed to Broadway stuff, and maybe if you've even seen a Broadway show, you can hear that it sounds more like contemporary singing now. And of course there's the classic or legit repertoire that sounds a little more similar to classical singing. So to me, it's the best of both worlds, and it's just what I'm interested in. So I like to work with musical theater singers and contemporary singers. So that's my field. So these people I leave to those who are devoted and committed to that art form, which is classical music, unamplified music. And these people are just great at what they do. I'm not a fan of when they try to, teach us in the middle and here their stuff, and give us the stand up straight and lift your soft palate and expand your rib cage. And I don't think it really translates. Like I've said before, it would be like you going to a ballet class versus going into a hip hop class and thinking that you can extrapolate. There's a different personality that's attracted to this stuff, and a different personality that's attracted to this and this stuff. And so I would say, do not allow these Eurocentric and classical music stuff, all that advice, influence all of this stuff, because it's a completely different world. And so if you're looking for a voice teacher and what you like to sing is contemporary music, make sure that it's a contemporary singer that's teaching you and not a classical singer. Because it's so impressive how well they dress and how beautiful their studios are and how well versed they are at, reading and playing music. And you can just be enamored by how skilled and trained that they are. But I would really recommend that you find someone that is more experienced in the genre that you do, so that you don't start to then judge yourself with the rubrics and with the standards and with the parameters and with that don't belong to what you're trying to do. And that's a mistake that I see happen all the time. Even here on YouTube, I see so much well-intentioned advice that is really for classical singers, but it's presented as if it's for everybody. So yeah, that's what I have to say. And if you're interested in contemporary voice lessons, you can head over to my website, contemporaryvoicelessons.com, and you can write me there and see if I'm available, and I'd be happy to work with you. All right, well, if the information on this video was helpful, I would really appreciate if you would give me a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe, because I'm trying to grow my channel, because I want to reach a wider audience. And I'm very passionate about this distinction between contemporary singing and classical singing, because I was affected by it. So yeah, it wasn't until I found teachers outside of college while I was in college that were contemporary singing teachers that things started to kind of reconnect for me and make sense for me again. So yes, you don't want to fall into that trap. Okay, well, I'll see you next time. Take care.